Shall we? Hello, hello, hello. Gentlemen. Gentlemen.
The Cartier on.
That's how you been the corner, bro?
You're getting a Ryan Clark special right here.
What's up, bro?
How are you, my man? You're getting the official Ryan Clark special right here. Oh, no, it's not done yet. Hold on.
I put my J's on to make sure I was ready.
Hold on. I came clean. I told you I was gonna come clean. And I come bearing gifts. I'm not the only one that gets to wear the brooch
I got
today.
a CC.
We got the CC. We got that Freddie T right there. You get none. You don't get any clips. You get all yours regularly. Thank you.
Hey, this is wild.
This is gonna be hard to button, guys. It took me a minute. I'm not gonna lie.
You clean though.
Okay,
You should wear it more. It gets easier
bro.
if you become.
You know what I
This
just
is-
found out?
What's that?
They got the Paul Smiths on Amazon for $15. Regular price $30.
Oh,
That's socks.
Those, what are those?
I don't know, bro. This was, as I'm sitting down, a horrible idea. When I was walking, I was like, oh, I look really good, but it's so unbelievably uncomfortable. And the thigh parts are too tight. You know?
When the last time you wore that suit?
I was in Japan, and I feel like they made it for a Japanese guy. Because this, I mean, like, all right. Hold on. I need to see the angles before. Okay, boys, let's go.
Well, look who's here.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the here to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the here to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
Andrew Schulz, welcome
you
to the
doing?
Pivot.
Thank you very much, guys. This is very exciting.
This is Fred Taylor. It's
I know
Channing
him very
Crowder.
well.
I'm RC,
I know.
Pivot fam. Thank you for pivoting. So me and you know, as people may not know,
Yeah.
you know, they don't. We've
Yeah.
texted a little bit over the last week.
Tell them how we've been like organizing the whole thing from the beginning.
Well, so initially, I don't know if Charlamagne told you, but he messaged me.
He told me that you told him you wanted me to make jokes about black women. And then I was like, all right, if Ryan wants to do it, I'll do it. And then it was crazy. And then this whole internet thing happened. And I was like, but Ryan asked for this. You know, never trust a guy from South Carolina. I mean, that's what
Well, I'm from New Orleans. That's a good thing.
Well, Charlamagne's from South Carolina.
Actually, I do appreciate, though, you know, like all jokes aside,
Yes.
I do appreciate the way, you know, you've conversed and communicated with me about little things leading up to this.
Sure. And thank you for texting me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost wish that we could have like spoke immediately. I think that might have, you know, would maybe clear some things up.
Well, I think the first thing, you know, and I said it because we talked about it recently, because you said something, you know, to Shannon and you talked to Charlamagne. I was like, everything that you say about me is fair to me. Like, you have an opportunity to rebuttal, respond to anything, because when I spoke about you, it wasn't something that was addressed to me.
Right.
I involved myself.
Right.
I understand this game, these platforms, is that like, okay, he gonna respond, and he should.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with that. What was, you know, in your responding, because it's been a while, what made you finally say something? Were you just asked about it, or?
I forget exactly what happened on Shannon. I'm sure that the cognac had something to do with it. You get loose on that Shannon Sharp podcast. No, I don't know why exactly I responded there, because I didn't respond on any other thing, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe I said something since. I was looking back at the response, and I thought that it was like unfair how I framed the thing. I've texted you this, so it's like weird to have this conversation in person, even though we've already texted. So I thought it was unfair that I was like, you said that I said the N-word or something like that, or wanted to say the N-word. So which wasn't what you said. Like, I'm sure everybody's probably seen that clip that listens to the podcast right now. But I think it seemed as if you were trying to explain these things that are like troubling for you culturally. My initial reaction was obviously this thing like, why is he talking about this and like me right now? Like, what is the moment? And that's why I thought it was clout. And then when you text me, you're like, I have a lot of black women that are in my life that are going, hey, you need to address this, you need to understand this, and you need to protect us. And I was like, okay, I get that. It's like more of a protective instinct. And I was like, okay, I understand where that's coming from. And like, I think that's noble. Like, I'm fine with that. And like, people are allowed to react however they want to jokes. I think that's like a misconception with comedians that like, you have to like our jokes. Like, I didn't even think the joke was that good. But it
wasn't.
was, yeah, I didn't think it was that good, but it was a joke. And the intention was to make people laugh. And I think the issue I had with what you said was that, like, I felt it was framed as if, like, I was unaware of these things that you were saying. You were like, I want to tell you what, like, black women mean to me. And then you told, like, beautiful stories about, like, you know, your mother and what she did for you, and, like, your wife and what she was doing for you when your health was bad, you know what I mean? And I'm listening to this and I'm like, wow, like, black women will do anything for their children. And they'll do anything for their husband when they're sick. And I was like, I think my mom and wife are black.
I get the joke.
I
get the joke.
I guess what I'm trying to say
Right,
is like,
the other piece of it too, Andrew, is that white women haven't been under attack in this country for their entire existence, right?
Yeah,
and so it wasn't about the nobility of it for me, right? It was about that in this platform where I have a space, where I have a voice, this is something that has been said. This is something that is being circulated.
Yeah.
And if the two black men that were sitting across from you would have addressed it a different way, even if they would have maybe laughed and it felt like a joke, right? It was an uncomfortable situation where what you said was neither refuted or agreed to, and it wasn't presented as a joke. And in the same space where I feel like if you're sitting on flagrant,
you don't think I presented it as a joke?
It didn't feel like a joke.
Oh,
right? Like anything you do in stand-up, when you are doing stand-up, like I watched your stand-up, I enjoyed it, and I was like, okay, like this is funny. And when you're talking about the Latina nurse and all those things, I was like, I get it, right? Because in jokes, whether we go back to Wanda or Shanae, right, we're gonna do the extreme of the stereotype, right? I get that. In that conversation, and all jokes, and you know this, like you've been punched in the face on stage before, right? All jokes are really as funny as the people who comprehend them and digest them.
I would debate that, obviously, but however somebody takes a joke, they're right. If you don't find something funny, you're right. You're allowed to react however you want to whatever I say. The tricky thing is when, like, we start trying to decide what the intention is. Because my intention is always, like, when I'm making a joke, is to make people laugh, to bring joy to the world. And sometimes, as you've seen with my special, I'm making jokes about myself for an hour, about, like, really vulnerable, f***ed up shit. And then sometimes I'm making jokes about a culture that I go visit. I go to Abu Dhabi, and I make fun of all of them in an arena out there, and it's this big, fun experience. And I've done that for, like, the last almost 20 years. And I've built this audience, and if you come to one of my shows, it's by far the most diverse audience in all of comedy. And I mean that of any comedian. It's by far, you know? So it's like, clearly, I'm talking about cultures in a way where they don't feel bullied, they feel seen. And I don't think that that joke represented that when I said it on the pod. But my concern was, I think the way that you reacted, it was like that I was, like, ignorant. And you can call me a lot of things. You can call me insensitive, like, call me not funny, call me whatever. But ignorant is one thing that I would disagree on. I think, like, I'm pretty aware and pretty curious guy. And, like, I'm curious because I genuinely want to know about people. And I think that's often reflected in the comedy. That joke, it's like, for me, it is a joke. It's not like the intention is like, how can I put this information out about black women on the internet? It was like, I hate explaining jokes, but I'm literally just doing a typical joke formula, which is like, we have one idea of one thing, and then what's the opposite of it, right? And I understand there's, like, a sensitivity to these, like, stereotypes or tropes, and, like, the joke wasn't funny enough for, like, how much it hurt people. I get that, and they're entitled to however they want to feel about it. I don't like it going into the territory of, like, that's how he really feels, and he's just using it as, like, a smoke screen to say how he really feels. It's like, no, how I really feel is I just want us all to laugh.
What happened is, like, you're saying that, like, I spoke on a joke in a way that you don't think was fair, when if you listen to me, I used your joke to say something I wanted to say anyway.
Let me clarify. However you react is fair.
Right. But my point is, I didn't paint you as anything. I said, Andrew Schulz said this.
Yeah.
let me tell you about my experience, right? Like when I watch Life, right? When I'm sitting in my son's house watching Netflix, I'm saying Andrew Schulz is telling this story about the journey of him and his wife to conceive their child.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
It's not my job now, right, to go, but let me tell you about how it is to have children with black women. That's not my job, right? Because you were doing a performing art, which you were giving to us for entertainment by being vulnerable, right? I understood that.
Yeah.
And so in what you did, it was like, okay, no, I'm not refuting what you said, because I don't know your experiences, right? I got away from Andrew Schulz and I got to black women. And I think my bigger problem is if you can, based on whatever reason you want to, right? Say, hey man, I'm gonna give you my experience with my wife that I love.
Yeah.
What is wrong with me saying, I'm gonna give you my experience with black women who I love?
I feel like you keep saying that you think that I think you're wrong. You're right to say whatever you want to say. However you feel is fine. What I feel is that like you were positioning me in a way that I don't think is consistent with me. Like I know that black mothers love their kids and they'll do anything for them, just like Chinese mothers do, just like Latin mothers do, right? Like that's the relationship a mother has with their kid. You know, I mean, you're mixed, right? Your mom is white or your dad's?
Mom's white.
Your mom's white. Like I bet she really loved you. I bet she didn't love you any less because she's white. Like you're everything to her. She'd probably do anything. I know my mom stopped going to school. She's 14 years old. She like comes to America from Scotland and she like builds a life and she would do anything for us. Like, so I don't think that's like a thing that's idiosyncratic to black women. I think that's like a woman-mom thing. It's really beautiful. So as you were explaining these things, it was like, to me, how I felt, how I interpreted it might not be what you intended, but like my interpretation was like, he's positioning me in a way as if I'm not aware of this thing and that people are capable of like immense beauty and care and concern and empathy. And it's like, if you feel like you have to explain that to me, you must think that I don't think that already about black women or all women, or you think that like I think that way about white women and don't about black women. So that's why I'm like, whoa, like.
Yeah, I think what you're missing is.
Does that make sense?
And I want to say this in like the least combative way possible.
Sure.
You know, what you're missing is I don't care about you. Right? Like in that
Probably a little bit less combative way of saying that, but yeah, sure.
In that moment, Andrew Schulz was a nameless gray face.
Sure.
Right? It wasn't, I didn't want to attack you. I didn't want people to come to you and be like, well, Ryan Clark said you're a racist. Like I would never say that because me, who never actually says, hey, white people are this.
Yeah.
When I step up for black women the way I did, you know what I got? You're a racist. Right?
Yeah, people are saying that. Yeah,
right. And so,
which is unfair too.
And if I, 2020, George Floyd, I'm like, look, man, I get that there's a criminal system, but doing this to any man is not okay.
That's right. Yeah, you brought up the Alton Sterling thing too.
Right. But when you do that, right, from whether it's conservatives, Republicans, the right, white people in general, you're a racist. When I never, in any fact, ever say anything about my own color being superior to anybody, which is what racism stems from, right? And so I get what you're saying that, like, I never painted you as anything, but as being somewhere, right? And I've dealt with this recently. When you are aware, right? And when you do feel like you are compassionate and you do try to understand people, right? And they paint you as a certain thing, you feel that they paint you as a certain thing.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not that, and that bothers me in some way.
Did you feel like I did that about you or you did that about me?
No, I'm saying, because you keep saying I painted you some way, which I didn't, right? I didn't say much about you.
I didn't say, I thought that your juxtaposition, meaning the fact that you're like, let me explain what the black woman experience is for me, made me feel, it's just a feeling, like made me feel as if you thought that I didn't already know that.
Have you dated black women before?
Sure.
And in your dating black women, did black women beat you?
No, Ryan, I think you're missing the point here. Like, do you think that's what I think of black women? Maybe we should start there.
No.
Okay, so then.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, well, that's different than no.
Black women, right? I don't know, because I don't know you. What I do know is, in that moment, in this small clip I saw of Andrew Schulz, this is what he said. Now, let me tell you what I didn't say, right?
Yes.
I didn't say Andrew Schulz thinks that all black women are angry. I didn't say Andrew Schulz thinks that black women are abusive. I didn't say that Andrew Schulz is a racist.
You didn't say racist, but, well, I don't want to.
I never said that, right? And in my conversation, I spoke about the two men that were sitting with you, right? And here's what happens when you deal in the life that I deal in, right? When I say something about unarmed black people getting killed, what do I get? Well, what about black crime in Chicago?
It's a red herring.
Right, it's a red herring.
It's used to distract and like kind of cut the legs out from your point. It's got to be very frustrating. And you're taking...
But my point about that was, right, when these guys are sitting with you, and that is said to people, not you, to people who may see that and may see them sitting there, they'll go, well, Andrew Schulz made this joke about black women, and there were two black men sitting across from him, and in no way did they refute it. This must be true. I can go behave like he behaves.
Got you. So that's the concern, that you think that somebody would see that joke and then feel like it's okay to do that.
Yes.
Got it. So you felt you need to address it to thwart that so you could protect black women from experiencing that in the future.
Andrew, too, man, it's like, as, you know, we talked about it, because I said, bro, I didn't even think it was going to be this big. It's part of any healing process, right? You put peroxide on a wound to clean it out in hopes that it heals. In the same way, whatever black women may have heard that, who may have been affected by it, who may have felt cut down, who may have wished that those two black men defended them, whether it was a joke or not, right? Whoever had that wound, just maybe they hear me, and for once they was like, man, at least that dude stood up for us.
And then,
at least somebody who had that experience stood up for it.
That must have felt good for some people.
I didn't care to paint you in any way, which is why I didn't continue talking about you.
It doesn't really matter what your intention was. It matters how you make someone feel. That's what the whole issue is with the joke. Like, if you said, I didn't care to do this, I don't care about you, none of that matters. It didn't matter that I didn't care to hurt black women, I just wanted to make a joke. It hurt them. So it doesn't matter whether you cared to do something or not. What matters is you did something and it had that effect. So ironically, the thing that you're describing to me is the same position you put yourself in. So what I'm trying to tell you is people are gonna react however they react, and they feel however they feel, and that's okay. Like, as a comedian, I accept that. I hope that people maybe learn more about me and they see that, like, I don't have bad intentions for people, and I make fun of everybody, because if I don't make fun of one group, then it becomes uncomfortable. Then it starts to become racist or sexist or whatever, you know? I hope that they learn that. But I understand as I get there, we're gonna have these little things that we stumble across, and, like, unfortunately, people's feelings are gonna be hurt, and it sucks. And if, like, anybody came up to me like, hey, that thing that you said, you know, I didn't know you were joking, it didn't feel like you were joking, it really hurt my feelings, I'd be like, dude, I'm sorry, I don't wanna hurt your feelings again. But if then they said to me, hey, don't you ever make jokes about that again, I go, I can't let you control what I make jokes about. I can hope and aspire to make them so that everybody laughs. But I don't think it's fair to, like, limit what we can joke about. I think one thing we often say is, like, you can only joke about the experiences you've had. But I don't know if that's true, because, like, we were laughing at Handyman when we were younger, right? He wasn't retarded. None of us are retarded. But we laugh at these things all the time. So you can't tell me White Chicks isn't a funny-ass movie.
It's hilarious.
They're not white women. Why are they allowed to make that joke? Because it's funny. We know it's well-intentioned. They're not trying to, like, hurt people's feelings. There might be some white women, they're like Karens, and they watch that movie and be like, how the f could you do that? That really hurt me. They're allowed to feel that way. We might disagree, but I'm not gonna remove their agency as comedians to be able to, like, do these things. So naturally, sometimes people's feelings get hurt. And that's based on the experience they had. You have daughters, you have this wife that you love. You know, we have these situations in our life that we, like, really want. We have sensitivities to certain things, you know what I mean? Like, my dad has dementia. When I hear jokes about that, I probably think about my dad, and it's probably maybe a little less funny to me than somebody who doesn't have any connection to it. And there might be moments where it's, like, way funnier, you know? There's all these different things. So what I don't want to do is start going, like, you have to have lived that exact experience in order to talk on it. Because I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's good for comedy.
Yeah, I don't think it's good for comedy. I mean, it's not good in life, right? Because I haven't actually lived the black woman experience, right?
That's a good point.
You know, so I wasn't trying to tell you that in any way. I think the thing that's true about what you said is, you know, you talk about intent impact. I talk to my kids about it all the time. I do know in it, my intent was, I had no intention on protecting your ability to joke. I had no intention on making sure everyone knew it was a joke. I had no intention on telling people or showing people that I enjoy all comedy. I do think it's extremely fair for you to talk about black women. I do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how many jokes do we make about white women? Or how many jokes do, like that is part of comedy.
And keep making them.
And it was the,
It's funny,
right,
it's great that we all do
raw and delirious. Those are all my
Amazing.
favorite,
Like-
right? And so I do understand that just in this case, like you said, the intent and impact, it felt differently.
Yeah.
That was why I addressed it.
I don't believe you're racist.
Oh,
I found it offensive, right, because of the experiences.
Sure.
Maybe even if it was directed at another group of women.
Yeah.
I probably found it a little bit offensive. But
Okay.
again, it's a joke.
Sure.
But always, comedians, they ride on the line of, right on the borderline of, I can say this because I am a comedian.
Yeah.
Right?
Or I would hope it's like we could say it if it's funny. And then when it's not funny,
but because
it
if
kinda,
it,
we take the
even
blow back.
whether it's funny or not, like, I know a lot of comics who, like, they say, well, I'm a comedian, I can say what I want. You know what I mean? So my
Yeah.
question is this.
Yeah.
If you weren't a comedian,
Yeah.
would you have felt comfortable saying the same thing, even with
That's a
your
good question.
experience?
No, that's
because
yeah,
I think
great
earlier
question.
today I heard Chelsea Handler speak about her experiences with white men.
Yeah.
She can't keep or get a white man because
yeah.
they feel she's too much
Wow.
like them. She's more of a man, you know, like more masculinity
Yes.
or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's what she said. She was like, I'm too tough for white men.
So what is she needs? What, a gay guy? Like what?
Nah, she ain't say that. But she says black men can handle her.
Yeah, I think she's kind of sneak calling y'all gay a little bit.
I don't think so.
Like,
You know, I mean, it's tough.
That's a little
because
crazy.
it goes back to black men being able to handle the black women.
There's
who
an assumption.
A lot of times are considered tough.
I think there's
They
an
don't take no
assumption of
shit.
masculinity with black men that there's maybe not with white men. As I sit here with my legs crossed and my pants almost at my knees.
That is wild, bro. This is,
I'm trying to dress like Ryan.
I'm gonna be honest.
I got
Ryan,
grilled at the beginning
I'll
of the
be
pod.
honest.
I thought we were gonna like warm up into this.
hey, RC would never sit like that.
What about my 24 karat white gold pendant?
You know what? The only
That's
thing,
actually kind of hard. Also, too, who put that together for you? Like, who?
I did that shit like 20 minutes ago.
everything minus the tube sock.
Yeah, the tube sock's a little
That's
crazy.
it.
I didn't know what color to go with.
No, seriously, I
But-
guess
but
the
to-
bigger question
To your I think it was a great question.
It's
like if you weren't a
borderline
comedian, would you?
and being able to say,
So I definitely think that like comedians take more creative liberties, you know, just like a filmmaker would take more creative liberties, or like a TV show writer would take more creative liberties. Like the relationship with people on any of our favorite TV shows is more exaggerated than like in a relationship in real life, for example. Like two neighbors, they're not gonna get into like screaming matches in the hallway. Usually you don't even talk to your fucking neighbors, frankly. You know what I mean? But in the TV show, it's like, oh, this is gonna be fun if it's contentious. So I think comedians in that way, we are like kind of like playing with that line. It's definitely something I've liked to do my whole career. And I think the reason is probably comes from like, I want to feel like the laughs are earned. So if I say something that's like, and we've all seen people do this all the time, like pandering, like they go up there, like give it up for God.
right.
And it's like, what am I supposed to do? Boo? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, and then like, or they'll say shit like, yeah, ladies, y'all are the smartest, or something like that, or like, man, we're so fucking dumb. And it's like, it's a little bit more pandering. To me, I'm like, I don't know if the joke earned the laugh or those people are just kind of agreeing. So in my life, in my career, kind of what I've done is I've taken topics that are like very edgy, potentially edgy, that's like word is overused, and then spoke on that, and often things that people disagree with on the premise, but if I'm funny enough, I can get you to flip.
Right.
And the process of that, like when I'm working it out in a comedy club for months, it bombs, it gets bad reactions. People are like, that joke's f***ed up, that's offensive, like the exact thing that like you guys reacted to what I said on that podcast. And then after like months, it's like, oh wait, that's clever, that's good. Or sometimes you just throw the joke away because it's not there. But it's this like process of like slowly refining and getting the joke good. Like a joke is a statue and a podcast is like throwing around lumps of clay. And sometimes the lump of clay looks good. Like, I'm sure you guys experience this all the time. You're f***ing around, you're saying some shit about a game or whatever like that, and then it broadcasts to millions of people, and then one of the players sees it, and they're like, yo, why the f are you talking about me like that? That's crazy. Like, man, I didn't even mean. You had that shit with Ty, whatever, when you called him a stripper. Tua, yeah, with Tua. Yeah, and then like, I'm sure you were just like, man, I'm hanging out with the boys. I'm gonna say this wild shit. Like, and I bet if he was in the room and you said it, he's dying laughing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, and you would have said it if he's in a room, and you would have been ripping him. He'd be like, man, whatever, I'm just eating good or whatever. Like, it's fun. But once the internet gets a hold of it, now it looks like you're bullying this guy, and like he wasn't in on it, and he's reacting to the reactions. When in reality, if he was right in the room, you would have said the exact same thing, and he would have known your intention was laughter.
Right.
Right? And it gets back to our intention thing, which doesn't matter. It just matters how it makes people feel. So I think the thing is, like, comedians, we're looking for that often boundary, or we're looking to like push that thing. And maybe a non-comedian wouldn't have said that in that moment.
Right.
But I think that like a comedian, we gotta shoot. Like, I gotta shoot. And I think Patrice O'Neal is like the greatest of all time to me. He's like, you can't take away our right to shoot. Because once we stop shooting, we only shoot layups, we only shoot the shots that we know that are gonna go in. The art form falls apart. We gotta take these risks, and it's like, you would hope that people give you leeway, but you can't make them give you leeway. And that's like a really important thing. People are entitled to, like, you being like offended by it, that's okay. That's just, if I'm at the comedy club and I see that reaction, I go, I gotta get this joke better. If I'm saying it and it's crushing, I'm like, okay, this is in a good place. I got this joke about, this is an old time ago, but here's an example of like, I'm not Mexican at all, but like, there's a joke about like, who built the pyramids in Egypt? And everybody's like, was it the Jews? Was it the aliens? Who built the pyramid? And then I go, there's also pyramids in Mexico, and nobody questions who built those. Right? Like, so it's like, we know Mexicans did that shit, right? Like, easily, you know? So, and now it's playing off this stereotype, right? Obviously there. And maybe the first time I said a version of it, maybe there were Mexicans that were like, wait a minute, are you trying to say all we do is build shit?
Right.
And then by the end, I see it now used as audio on people's TikToks when they're putting together houses and shit. And they're like, oh yeah, this is what, we're nice at working, and everybody else can't work like us. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's what happens when it takes time. So like, I'm in this weird position, like with this joke and other things that I've said throughout my career that mess people up, because I'm like, there's a part of me where I'm like, man, you're right, the joke wasn't that good. So it's not like I can't go, this is the funniest thing ever. So I'm really in this position where I'm like, but you gotta let me shoot. Well, actually, you don't have to let me do anything, but like, I wanna keep shooting, because sometimes when I drain it, it's crazy. Does that make sense?
But no. But though, I was gonna ask, actually, it's funny you bring that, like the stereotype stuff, or like low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
You know, Mexicans work hard, white dudes have small penises, Jewish people are cheap. You know, like just the stereotypes of it all. And is there, are you
true what you just said?
But are you like to the point of like almost punching down with the jokes more than
I don't
making
think anybody's
it
below
funny?
me. That's very important to understand. I don't think anybody's below me. Right. I don't think anybody's above me. But I don't think anybody's below me.
Yeah, but I'm the low-hanging fruit thing, like so, a black people in watermelon joke, like.
Yeah, I mean, that is the lowest hanging fruit.
It actually grows on the ground. But you see, like it's just like
you wrote that one. I didn't write that one.
Jokes write themselves.
So here's a perfect example. Like that's just like, all right, we're here and we're in an environment having fun. If it's 4 white dudes in a room doing it, that might feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that was kind of with that situation, which I thought people would see, is like, I'm not doing that joke in front of like 2 white guys in a room. Like, I'm doing it, there's 2 black guys in the room as well. Like, I thought they would communicate like, hey, there's good faith here. No, there's no real animosity or like hatred or any of that kind of shit. But back to your saying, I think that there's like, sometimes there's like stereotypes that are like low-hanging fruit, but sometimes there's like really clever things that you could say that play off of those things. So like, Mexicans working hard, you could go, this is like a cultural attribute, right? I don't think anybody refutes that. And then I'm like, okay, how can I justify this in like some cool historical way? Not like oh yeah, they can sell all these things or they can build this. I'm like, what can I do that like not only taps into the Mexicans building the pyramids, but also like it taps into people not thinking Jews can work hard. Because when they say the Jews built the pyramids, people are like, man, the aliens did it, man. There's no way. You know what I'm saying? There's no way that like 7 guys dressed like me are building a pyramid. You know what I mean? Like, but when they say Mexicans, people are like, yeah, that adds up, right? So there's all this like, to me, I don't like getting into that shit, but like there's all this cool, like kind of little fun nuance, and it's playing into people's thoughts. Like, I'm not injecting the thought in you. You already think it. Does that make sense? It's like it's already in there, so sometimes I don't even have to say it.
That's what a stereotype is.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
But not every joke has to do with like stereotypes. Like sometimes just like understanding culture is really fun for me. Like anytime I go to a different country or place to perform, and it could be like a state in America, I'm like trying to understand like, okay, what makes these people tick? What are they annoyed by? What are they really proud of? Like, what are they proud of, but it's actually kind of silly and they all know it's silly? You know what I mean? Like, this is not even jokes, but I would just remember like, even with Fred, like I just, like the only reason people play with the Jaguars and Madden was because of you. Like there's no other, like you know what I mean? There's no other reason. And it's twofold. It's like, we knew you obviously in New York, obviously prolific football player, but because of the Fabulous line.
Right.
Right? And so it's like, there's all these like little tiny things that are going on, and you're like, how do I sew these things together? Every new piece of information I have, I'm like working on it, like, okay, I'm hanging out with these guys. What am I dressed like? What do I look like? I don't actually look like Ryan, like I'm in the outfit Ryan would wear, but I look like a crooked agent. And I'm like, oh, didn't somebody steal from you? I look like fucking Tony Banks. You know what I mean? Like,
He came ready.
He came back
no,
around.
but, like,
ready.
This is how like my brain like starts to like pick up little pieces of information. And like that joke was, there's some pieces of information that got picked up and it just wasn't funny enough. But like, that's how my brain goes. It's like, oh, how can I flip this? How can I use that angle?
So here would be my question.
Yeah.
If we're in the airport together, right? You can tell who everybody thinks we are by the way they speak to us.
Oh, tell me
Right?
that.
So if they meet Fred, like it's whoever meets him, if it's an auntie, like an old black woman, she all over him. Right? Like you gotta damn near stand in between it, because Fred's the sex symbol of the show. Right? He speaks in a low voice, he's mysterious, he don't say a lot. Right? So Fred, when they walk up on, every time you walk through the airport, every old black woman's like, you tell Fred I say hello.
No.
Every time. Am I lying, Fred? Am I lying? That's the real. And then so then Chan, everybody wants him to joke. Like they want him to joke, or they want him to tell some story about being dressed in a furry outfit, trying to get taken advantage of.
Oh yeah, your stories are crazy. From
Right.
the sex part. I mean, I remember that was going viral, and it was insane.
And all it is with me, they want to debate sports.
Yes.
Right? They want to debate sports when they see me. And so my question for you would be, right, because you're talking about how all of these jokes play and the little pieces of it, what would be the point where the comedian shuts off and you're just Andrew Schulz?
You know, it's weird. It's like having a kid that starts to happen. Like I like think about people's kids. Like I was doing some research on the pod and I found out like one of your kids is in fashion design, right? And I was like, and immediately I was like, oh no, do they design his suits? Did I make, like I had this like, and I like, even now I'm thinking about, I'm like, oh my God, like the suits don't look bad. Like, and I thought about this kid looking at watching the pod and like seeing me tease this thing that they worked really hard on. And then I thought about you as a dad. Maybe you don't even fucking like the suits, but you love your kids so much, you're like, I'm gonna wear these stupid suits with the pin, and you don't even wanna wear this shit, but you got to. Like, it's when your wife buys you a necklace or something, you're like, all right, I'm wearing this dumb shit, you know what I mean? Like, but like, so that's how my brain works. So I'm like, oh. So there are these moments where I feel bad. Like, obviously, when we did the roast of Tom, like, they said, like, hey, don't say anything about his kids. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying anything about your kid. My kind of rules are like, if your family didn't ask for this or they're not in the public eye, then they're kind of off. Like, I'm not talking about somebody's wife who never wanted to be famous or never wanted to be part of this. Now, the Kardashians want to be famous, so now you're part of all this. But if you're like some innocent kid, like, so I'll turn it off there.
Not even like turn it off, Andrew, as like, okay, this may be off limits to joke about. If I'm watching you on anything, if I'm in a room with you anywhere, should I always expect that everything you say is a joke?
No, and that's a good point too. Because I think what a lot of people are realizing right now is like, there are comedians who aren't funny and they say things that are not funny that just come across as fucked up. And they might be able to use the I'm a comedian as protection for that. And then I see the public going, wait, what? You're not just allowed to say offensive, racist shit just because you're a comedian, right? And that's why I keep saying, like, people are allowed to react however they want to react. It doesn't give them carte blanche. Like, if somebody says a joke and it like really makes people feel bad, that you're not wrong. Like, you feel however you want to feel. But I would say, like, most of my conversations with people are pretty serious. I don't want to say serious, but like, I try to get to some truth, and then when you're at the truth or whatever that is, like, once we're having a real conversation, then funny always comes out. Like, you were dead serious when you were talking about low-hanging fruit. Mm-hmm. And then it ended up being funny. Yeah. Right? Like, it was like you were like having a serious moment, and I feel like that's when I laugh the hardest. Not when it's just, hey, we're trying to just do these like flippant misdirections, but more like you're trying to get somewhere with me, and it's so serious that we're both locked in, and then this funny thought either enters your brain or my brain, and then it happens.
Like, you read the Wikipedia and all, we do research as well.
For sure.
Like, mom and dad, business owners.
They dance lessons.
I really, own dance studio.
Mom was a champ, though.
Yeah,
three times. Mom, 3-time champ.
3-time U.S. ballroom dance champion.
She ain't wear that Pee Wee Herman outfit you got on, but like the funny, like Archie just said, like, I'm the guy that people, bro, it'll be 6 a.m. and people walk around the corner and see me and they start smiling because they, what are you gonna say? And we've talked about on the show where,
what do like, they walk up to you and what do they say?
They want me to tell a joke.
They're like, Waka Flocka, tell us
like,
about something.
but bro, I think comedians are.
I actually never thought about that, but
I like Waka Flocka.
Pretty spot on right now.
I laid my head down. I laid my head down.
Spot on right now.
I thought about it when he said, I laid my head down. Gave this some goddamn material. But I think the funny guys, it was created in, I don't think it's like nurture nature.
Yeah.
What in your life made you want to enlighten rooms like that? Because looking at the path, it seems, you lived the great all-American life. But I think I was created by parents getting divorced, you know what I'm saying? Living by myself, single mother, she's upset, my sisters, arguments and all, and now I need to go make people laugh because around me is chaos.
Yeah, I think that's a really astute observation just about yourself. Like, you developed a skill to kind of deal with existing trauma. And it's probably like a lot of comedians, like how are you coping with this thing? You know, you've got a lot going on. Like, you know, you ever meet like somebody kind of like, they're fat? Fat people are kind of funny. And it's like, they gotta be. Or else they're this fat just sitting in a room, like taking up all the oxygen. You know what I mean? So they need to be
allowed to say that.
Breathing loud.
Last show. Hey, they're gonna be like, Andrew Schulz gets the last laugh. Pivot. The pivot no longer on YouTube.
Hey, where's my camera? Hey, fat people, chase me.
Like, it's over. It's a wrap.
No.
I ain't laugh.
But yeah, like all the stuff you're going through, like I even imagine like the racial dynamic, like trying to figure out, like, are you black enough around your black friends? Are you only black to your white friends? Are you white to your black friends? Like, there's a lot of different circumstances you got to emotionally manage at a young age. And the quickest way to manage a lot of those things is just making people laugh. Like, it just kind of desensitizes everything.
But the first thing, I tell a joke about that. I say, treat me like a white man. Because I'm 50-50. So I'm half black, half white. So when I walk in a room, treat me like a 6'3" white man with dreads and tattoos. And I joke about it, like, why do you look at me like a black man? But
what is that treat? Like, how would we treat a 6'3" white guy with dreads and tattoos?
I say that, like, and so I do jokingly walk that line. Yeah. But what's your trauma? Why did you have to make people laugh?
That's an interesting one. I think that, like, I think there's multiple components. And I don't always think it's trauma. I think a lot of times with comedians, like, that can be helpful. But I know a lot of people who dealt with trauma and they're not funny. They just, like, sad. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that growing up in New York City, I think that it was the easiest way to connect with people. And we didn't really have a community that was built around, like, religion. We didn't really have a community that was built around, like, one culture. It was just, New York was our identity, really. And it was all these kids, and this is how we connected with one another, is we kind of made fun of each other. That was it. And like, my crew felt immense comfort. The only thing that I would say is similar is the relationship that buddies of mine who are in the military have with their like brothers in the military, where it's just like anything goes, because once I know that you'll die for me, I can't think that you have any malice towards me. Wow. You know what I mean? So that you build up such a level of trust. And that's kind of how we grew up. And I know that's weird for a lot of people. Like, I think a lot of times we take that for granted in New York. We're like, oh yeah, everybody grew up like us. Like everybody, like my high school is half Asian. Can you imagine that? Like, can you imagine that? Like,
You definitely
no,
weren't
right?
the smartest person in the
No,
school.
not at all.
Yeah, I know
We were
that.
like, stop letting these motherfuckers in. This is supposed to be a public school. How is it? Bro, the crazy thing, it was half the kids got in off of grades and the other half got in off of like random because it's a public school. And that shit was 50% Asian. And we know who got in off the grades.
Yeah.
Like it was unbelievable.
I do have a question for you,
Yeah,
though,
yeah,
right? You told us your sperm doesn't really work well.
Yeah, it doesn't swim. It's
yeah.
shaped weird. You guys all have vasectomies. I was watching a clip about
But
that.
Chan also has his mama's dick.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I had a...
Craziest
Bro,
thing.
I used to tell a joke about, because my dad has this huge dick, and I was like waiting to grow into it. Yeah, dude, we got our mom's dick, bro. It's up. It's up.
But when I saw my dad,
Fred don't know nothing.
my
dude.
dad's a 6'4" black dude, and when
Yeah.
I saw this baby leg fall out one
Dude,
time, I
it's-
was like,
Yeah, you're waiting for it.
what the hell? I thought
I
it was
know.
gonna, and I'm 21, 22, and
That's late.
I'm like, I'm never gonna, when is this gonna grow?
I used to hold my breath, try to push it out. I'd be like... I go, damn near shitting myself trying to get 2 centimeters.
You said your sperm does,
So my
doesn't
sperm
swim?
doesn't really swim that well. It's like shaped weird, like it's all f***ed up. It's bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he was sitting in there and they told his wife, you are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
He was like, well, damn, what's the issue then?
Yeah. Bro,
He was like,
I couldn't believe, because we all like, I imagine you're coming up, you can't ever think that there's something wrong with your sperm. You know what I mean? Like, you guys all got kids.
Yeah.
Easy. Right?
Very easy.
Easy. Like,
Not on purpose.
Too easy. Too easy. Not on purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm growing up with these stories of like athletes having kids. And in my mind, you know, everybody who's not an athlete thinks they're an athlete, right? Yeah. You guys are aware of this.
100%.
Right? Okay. And like when you guys play pickup against us or some shit, like we then learn the difference, you know, but before that, we're sizing you guys up and we're like, man, I'm crossing this over. Like that's not, like we are, like in our brains, like you guys look regular, you know? And then we're on the court and it's a different thing and it sucks, whatever. But so yes, I'm gonna get every girl pregnant. I was like stressed like for decades. Like I'm hooking up with girls. I'm like, we're getting Plan Bs. Like I was telling Shannon this shit. I was like, remember the last scene of Fresh Prince when he's just in the living room, but there's no furniture or nothing? That's what a Plan B looking like in every girl that I've hooked up with.
So there ain't no sperm there.
What the fuck you want me to do with this? Shit already cleaned out. So yeah, it was like, bro, at first it hurts, man. Like, at first I started wondering if like my wife would stop being attracted to me on like some primal shit. So you have that like initial feeling, and I think I was like probably like sensitive and like defensive about shit, like, cause I don't know how it, like I'm just watching nature documentaries and like once like the alpha chimpanzee no longer could fight, like the girls kind of are like, all right, whatever, I don't gotta fuck him anymore. So I'm like, what's going on? Do I have to go to the gym? Like, you know, then you kind of get through that shit. And then, you know, we spoke to the doctor. At first, I just wanted to beat it. And I was like, I could get you pregnant. Don't listen to what they think. I'm gonna get one in there. And like, I mean, this is like a lot, but like we would do it and then I would hold her legs up. So it's like, they might not be swimming.
To shake it
but
down?
yeah, you just get to the, it's just like, you know, like before you put sugar in your coffee, you're like, I'm like, you don't need a swim. We just need one, okay? There's a billion of these useless motherfuckers in my balls, and we just need one, okay? And so we do that, and then what you realize very quickly is like your ego could really hurt somebody. And as much as I wanted to get her pregnant for my own ego, every month that she wasn't would be like heartbreaking. And then the doctor essentially was like, listen, if you guys can afford it and if you know, sometimes it's a lot easier on the relationship. He's like, you guys can keep trying. And it's normal for people to not have success immediately. For us regular folks, not you guys. Submachine guns inside all of you. This is unbelievable. So the fact that all you guys individually had a point in your life where you're like, I got to get these cut off, bro. I'm a weapon out here. I'm dangerous, bro. I don't know what I might do. Like the fact that you guys had to think that is just so foreign for me. I still look at it and I'm like, come on, guys.
That's how it feels to run 99 yards and fumble at the 1. You see the guys when they run through the end zone and they drop the ball like this? I gotta keep going. But no, on some real shit though, Andrew, because you got a psychology background, right?
Yeah.
Was it psychology when you said RC was clout chasing? Was it like a reverse psychology?
No, you know what it was? It was
reverse clout?
No, it was my genuine reaction, which I think is like, kind of like is informed by some insecurity. Like, I'm sure you guys are going through this now. You guys are this big show, and like people can eat off of you.
Correct.
So like people can do little reaction videos, and they have all these hot takes. It's like, it's so funny. It's like everything. There's a sports center for a sports center for a sports center. It's like we're reacting to shit. There's people reacting to us reacting to shit. There's people reacting to them reacting to us reacting. It's like. It just is a never-ending thing. Yeah. So I think I was used to that. And also, I didn't know how you guys put out content. So when it first came out, like I looked for the full episode because I don't like to react to just a clip of something. I'm like, all right, well, maybe there's more context. And there was no full episode. So I was like, did they just all meet up to say I'm racist? What the fuck is going on? What is that? What in the world has happened?
That's a reverse lynching.
That's good.
Yeah.
See? That's a dark joke, but that's a good joke. That is fucking good. So I'm like, holy shit. And that was my knee-jerk reaction. And then when we were texting, you explained like that you had like a lot of people hit you up. Yeah. And I'm sure these people, I'm not sure, like maybe some of them familiar with me, maybe they weren't. And they were just like, hey, you have a platform, you're an important person in our world, and it would be great if you defended us about this. And it's hard to look at those people that you care about and be like, nah, Giants are playing, or we got to interview this person. So
I think it's like the same way you do everything, though. It wasn't, like nobody asked me to defend. They just said, hey, what's your reaction to this?
Oh, okay. That's fair.
And it brought me back to your point, though. You said there's like the initial reaction or the initial topic or segment, someone reacting to that. And so how have you adjusted to that, though? Because you have the mindset of, okay, people are entitled to their feelings.
Yeah.
Right? And you are in a place to where you're famous. Right? And people are going to react to what you say. Yeah. And I'm positive, I know for a fact, I wasn't the only person that reacted.
Of course not. Of course not. You guys just have like a really big platform, and your platform is, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know, but it's influential, and like I think people watch it, and any kind of, I think you can like start, I don't want to say start, but like you definitely have influence for sure. And like your opinions matter.
So how do you deal with people reacting to your jokes or to the things you say harshly? Do you feel like do you feel like you always have to respond to those things?
No. I almost never respond. I probably should address certain things more because sometimes people can like, I'm not saying you guys do this, but like I'm sure you guys experience, like people just make shit up. Like they'll just say, like, I can't imagine what they're doing with you guys about, they're like, oh, but this person doesn't like this, all this other nonsense. And you guys are in the group chat just going, where do these people get this shit? And it's like, well, it makes money. They make videos and then they get paid off the videos. That's what it is. So usually I don't, like, maybe I should address trends better. Like, Charlemagne is the best at it. Like, Charlemagne is just like, he can, like, address something without even acknowledging the person that he's addressing. So they get no clout. They get no response. But the trend, the thing that's out there in the world gets the response from him. But he's also just the best to ever do it at talking into a microphone. So like that's like, I think the most sophisticated way of like going about it. I gotta probably get better at that. But like my initial reaction is going, like, I'll tell you what you want to know what my initial reaction is, which I think is kind of unfair, but my initial reaction was when I saw you guys talking about it, and I was like, okay, he wants to protect black women, and this is very important. And then I looked on every one of the episodes that you had to see if there was any guys on here that beat up black women. Mm-hmm. And there were. And I looked to see if you guys addressed it on the pod, and you didn't.
Okay.
Now, I also saw you guys had the episode with DeAndre's mom talking about domestic violence. So I was like, okay, this is good and this is powerful, this is important. But my knee-jerk reaction was, man, I get a whole section that's not even part of an episode. Mm-hmm. And these guys who we know have actually, like, for like a joke, and these guys who have actually like hurt black women and convicted, not allegations, because I don't go off of allegations, I go off of conviction. Everybody can get an allegation, it means nothing. And then these guys, they don't get anything. So in that moment, I was like, this feels like a clout play. It doesn't feel like the highest priority is protecting these women. So that was my initial reaction.
So I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
We have had people on this show that have been convicted for domestic violence that have pulled it out of the show.
That pulled it out of the show.
That I have asked about it.
Oh, and then they're
like,
I don't want it on the show.
Yeah, and I do, because people come on our show voluntarily.
Of course.
I do ask those questions in respectful ways. Right, I'm not, hey man, you're a woman beater, but I will say, like, in one of the instances that was pulled, I said, look, you were convicted of something that no man wants attached to his name.
Amen.
And they answered it. We talked to their people. I was like, man, the answer was good, like, and they pulled it out of the show. So we've had that happen. We also had an instance with one of our guests who was talking about sexual assault, and he talked about it in a way that almost said that, okay, how do we blame the women? And I addressed that as well.
Yeah.
So as far as for me, I try to address it in every opportunity that I get a chance to with them.
Yeah.
I try to ask them questions in ways that they get to tell their side of the story.
Yeah.
When they sit with us, I do not bash them over the head with it, condemn them, or judge them in the moment.
Yeah.
I do try to have a conversation about it.
We're all like hypocrites. Like, nobody's perfect. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had people on the pod, like, I've had a president on the podcast. Like nobody's killed more people than a president. You know what I mean? Like, anybody who sat down, if you sat down with Obama, hundreds of thousands of people are dead because of decisions that he thought were in the best interests of America, right? Same thing if you sat down with Clinton, you sat down with anybody, right? Like, I did a buddy of mine's podcast, and he brought up the fact that I had Alex Jones on my podcast. He did one of the most heinous things in history, where he said that those kids were faking it at that school shooting. Remember that? Like, that's a heinous, Sandy Hook. I mean, disgusting, heinous. I had a buddy of mine, I went on his podcast, and he was like, I can't believe you did that. That was like so f***ed up, like what he did to those kids. And I was like, you visited the Pope. You know what I mean? Like, they were protecting people f***ing kids. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you had the opportunity to go meet him, and you're like, I'll do that. And like, they were literally protecting priests that were having sex with children. Like, I can't think of any, like, so we can always find the moral equivalency or the moral high ground, which was a thing that I did with you guys, but I hesitated to like go out and talk about that publicly. This is why I did, is because the point of that is not to protect those women or to protect the children. The point of that is to make you feel bad or me feel good. And now we're using victims as a tool. I don't want to do that. So it might make me feel good in the moment for me to go out and like go and talk on the pod and yada, yada, yada. But I was like, I don't want to use them as like a tool for this thing to feel good.
I think the other piece of it is too.
So I made fun of your outfit.
Yeah, and that was I liked it because I was glad I was in the group chat.
Yeah, I just didn't want to like. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it would have been like a justified thing, but also maybe it's like a conversation I could have just had with you on the side, you know, and understood perspective and understood the thought. Like, knowing right now that, you know, you did ask them about that, but you respected their wishes to have it cut. Like, I get that. We had Mr. Beast on for another time, and I asked him about all these things that there was a lot of controversy going on, and we did the pod, and afterwards he's like, dude, can you cut all that shit? And I was like, I can't put out the episode then, man. Like, just because I feel like I'm doing this like fluff piece when like
we've done that.
Yeah. So it's like we all are going to figure out what those things are. So I don't begrudge anybody for doing that. I don't begrudge you. But I think in that moment, I just wanted I just wanted revenge, or I just wanted to be like, you're making me look dumb. Well, here, let me make you look dumb. Right. Which I think is like the most childish version of this shit. So I tried not to do that.
No, I respect that. And I think, we go through it. When the video came out with Diddy, right, and Cassie.
Oh, God.
Right? I thought, I didn't care what color he was. I thought it was a bitch move.
Yeah.
Right? And I was very vocal about that. And then from my community, obviously, I get, well, you just a black man that wants to tear another black man down.
Oof.
Right? But my thing was, no matter what color the man is, you don't put your hand on a woman.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right, and so there's all of these things that I think right now, as we have this platform, Andrew, too, that happen in the moment, right? They're the same way you say Charlemagne addresses the trends the best, right? As you know, in our business now, it's like people want to hear about what matters to them in that moment, right? You don't go back and grab something from 20 years ago unless the video comes out. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of the piece of it too. When you sit with people, it's okay, how does the way I interview this person, or deciding to interview them or not, injure the people or further traumatize the people they have already injured?
Sure.
And and so it's definitely dealing with those things. And even you bringing it up, like it's something like I battled with
I can imagine.
when they asked to take it out the show. I was in the place of like, man, F the show. Like, so I get it, what you're saying.
Obviously you guys aren't new to this. You've been doing this a while, but like as you find success, there's certain things you do that are successful, they'll hit. And there's certain things that like you really love doing on the pod. There's this thing that you guys really love doing, but maybe it didn't hit as much. How do you battle between the thing that is working and the thing that is like authentically pure to you guys?
It's out of our control, just knowing that. We just did a beautiful show with Jelly Roll.
Jelly's the
Like,
man.
it was an amazing show.
Yeah.
After a day, 70, 80,000 views.
Yeah.
But the content was amazing.
Yeah.
It's gonna touch a ton of people, but it's out of our control. And we felt that it was an amazing show. Whereas you do a show with someone else and the depth of it might not be what we think, but then it floats around everywhere. So
I think
just knowing that what we control and what we don't control.
I think there are a lot of people that are victims of the algorithm. Meaning like the algorithm is telling them what to create and they don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. And I think that like putting out good work that is authentic to you is knowing that sometimes it's gonna go crazy and sometimes it's not, but it is the thing you wanna do. Mm-hmm. And I think there's longevity in that. And I think chasing the algorithm is short-term gains, in my personal opinion. And you lose your authenticity, right? It's like...
There was also, too, like, I'll be honest, you mentioned it, like, we wanted you on the show before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In coming up to, like, this show, right? And sitting with you, I had the conversation with myself, like, okay, like, I have his number now.
Yeah.
Right? What does sitting with Andrew look like from the outside?
Yeah.
Right? In the sense of, on my side, is it okaying what people thought I was against, or people feel I stood up against? Now am I saying it's okay? And I think the biggest thing I like to talk about and do is, if I don't have a conversation with people to truly know where they stand, I never learn.
Dude, I think that good faith conversations are what media is missing right now. I think there's a lot of like dunk content, like you're debating on some news show and the two people are just on different sides of the political aisle or whatever it is. And they don't actually care about each other. They're just trying to prove their point. And I mean, that's why I wanted to come on. I was just like, obviously we were texting and it was like nice to text, but I also just wanted to like hear your guys' thoughts and like understand the perspective, and that informs my decisions. If you asked me 5 years ago or 8 years ago, like, what do you think about people who get offended by jokes? I'd be like, oh, pussies, why do they get, oh, it's just a joke, da, 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 da. Like, my feelings about it have matured and like become more fully formed, and I think I'm better at comedy because of that. Like, I think I'm better at communicating because of that. So anybody that I think that like has respect for me if they disagree, like I want to talk to you. Not anybody, shit. You got to be like one of the biggest shows, like obviously, you know what I mean? But like, you know what I mean? But like, and if I respect them too, like I want to have that conversation, and I'm gonna say things that I'm gonna probably look back and be like, that wasn't a really good answer to that question, and these things. But I'll learn. I'm not afraid to like learn and go, okay, no, that's a good point. Maybe I could have seen it from that angle a little bit more. But I hope I learn, and I know I'll never learn if I stay in like a little protective bubble. And never have combos with people. And it's important to go to your show. Like having you guys on my show which I would still love to do, but it's still like a home game. Like I think you're more vulnerable in a place where you're in someone else's environment. Absolutely. You guys are dictating the interview, and like I have to react in real time.
Right.
And you get to find out like what is my honest reaction, not what I planned for the show.
I like that.
What's the future of Andrew Schulz? Like, because you know comedians,
Yeah.
they do tours, they do shows,
Yeah.
they get into TV,
Yeah.
the Martins, the Eddie
Yeah.
Murphys, the all. Like, what are you doing moving forward? What do we expect out of you moving forward?
I finished the tour, and now I usually take time off, and like I let the world impact me and wait till there's something I really care about, and then when I really care about it, I'll start writing about that.
But is it a Red Fox? Eddie got in the TV movies, like
I would like to make
the
a film.
future of it, man. I know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're keeping it a secret. You know what I'm saying?
No, not at all. Like I want to make a film. I want to make a film based on the story from the special, but I want to like be involved in like the produce. Like acting is boring. It's the most boring shit in the fucking world. You're there for 12 hours. Actors are boring. You know how like when you guys get around with each other, it's like we like to argue. It's like we have the same. I've been having the same arguments with my friends for 10 years, like LeBron or Jordan, and I'll have it for the next 40 years, and it's fun, and I want to argue with you. I want you to say some shit, and I'm going to argue about it, and then you say, and then we're going to argue, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to make fun of each other's clothes. But actors is all just like yes queening. It's like, yeah, we should, yeah, it's the best, and yeah, we should totally take that guy down, and yeah, and I'm just like, can somebody shoot this place up? This is insane, dude. Like what is happening? And you're there for 12 hours. Like, and then when you try to ruffle feathers, they get like all like freaked out, you know?
Yeah.
So I would like to make a film, but like that type of problem solving, that type of organization, writing, like learning what it is to make an actor feel like comfortable to get a really awesome performance from them. Like, yeah, like how do you get the best performance out of somebody? Like, okay, how does that person want to be coached? You got to let that person do their thing. You can't give them too much information. That person is insecure. You got to make them feel really confident, and then you get something special. Like, just those types of things would be cool. So I think that next film, yeah.
I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
You can answer whichever one you want.
Yes.
Are there any comedians you want to talk shit about? Or
No, dude.
you can answer this question.
Only Lil Duval.
That's our homie.
Only Lil Duval.
That's the homie.
Duval is. I would say Duval is like my biggest. I've said this before. I try to give him his flowers every single time I can, but he is like the biggest inspiration for me. And everything that I've done comedically has been fruit off of his tree. So like any idea I've had, he's probably already done it on the internet. There are so many people that are copying Duval without even realizing that they're copying Duval. Like, I mean, you know, just from being around Jacksonville, like just what he does, even for his city. Like, that's another thing that like is really important that I kind of try to remember is like, it's easy to, when everybody is into you, to forget about home. But the people who never forget about home can always be good at home, right? Like, and it's just, and it can be seductive to people. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go to LA and do it. It's like, no. And those people who are just like, this is home, like bro, I remember once I went to the Bahamas to go to his place and I didn't have some like visa or something for like filming equipment. And I told the person at customs, I was like, I don't know what to, I'm going to see Lil Duval. And then they just went, all right, go for it. Can you imagine how much influence that is? Where customs just goes, all right, it's Duval. You can take this illegal shit here.
That's true. But no, the real question is your biggest pivot. So we always ask our guests, what's their biggest pivot? That's that one moment you can go back to, look at it and say, without this happening, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Oh, wow. Without that, wow. I mean, this is gonna sound very cliche, but like, I think just the role my dad played in my life, like his commitment to me, like, it was just unrelenting. Like he was just always there. He just ebbed for anything. I think when you're a kid and you have that relationship, you kind of think that's what everybody has. You just like, that's what it is. He never once was like, you got it good with me. Like, the goal in life is your kid, at least I hope with my daughter, she'll never know how much she's loved, because this is just what love feels like. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's just, like, yeah, my parents just adore me and they just want to do everything with me and like they believe in me. Like, yeah, that's just what parents do. You know, like that. So I would say that's the difference maker for me in my life. And it might be cliche to say, but it's like, yeah, every bit of confidence, every bit of belief, you know.
The still of when you found out you were having a girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like that feeling, I wanted, but you had a bad haircut that day.
Yeah, it was bad,
Yeah,
bro.
I wanted to, but I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
because, you know, you guys had trouble getting pregnant.
Yeah.
And then you finally, you know, your wife had some complications during. You find out you have
a C-section.
Yeah. What was that feeling though of like, what was that look expressing when you found out you were having a girl?
We found out early that we were gonna have the girl and I was terrified. Cause I think that like, God, it's so funny how we are. Like when I thought, I think I naturally just thought it was gonna be a boy. Maybe that's just what men think in general. Like, and I was like, they're going to public school in New York. They're gonna, you know, like I'm not gonna have one of these like pussy ass private school kids. Like they're going to school like me. Like they're just gonna be. And the second I had a girl, I was like, I'm not letting her touch a fucking public school. He's going to Catholic school in Queens or some shit. Like we are protecting this girl. So that was crazy, but. I'll tell you, when we first got to see her, man, you know, like seeing someone give max effort is so rare in life, you know, like, and, you know, just labor is just unbelievable. And just seeing my wife, like, give literally every ounce of energy that she has, like, up to feeding the baby. And the second they pull the baby off, she just passed out. But it's like, it's very rare you get to see someone that you really care about give literally everything they possibly have. And yeah, you just feel so great. I remember in that moment, I told my wife this, but I was like, if this girl ever talks back to you, I don't know what I'm gonna do to her, but I will do something. I'm like, you can't do anything to a girl, but you're like, I will explain what you just fucking went through. You know what I mean? Like, in a strong way. Or something, like,
Did you stay in the danger zone
I
or
was
you
behind
were
the curtain, bro. I went
you
up
up
one
top?
time. I saw that shit. I was like, oh my God, it looked like a football exploded, bro. It was crazy. I understood why the curtain was there. I mean, it was. Why? Have you been there for the?
I had 3 and I held the leg the whole time.
For the C-section?
No.
Yeah, right.
That's
C-section is crazy. I was born that way. My parents always tell me about it. My dad said it was the craziest thing.
So he saw the whole thing. Holy moly. I mean, it is just, they tell you don't look. And the second you tell me that, and it's like, well, now I gotta fucking look. And that was, oh God. So you were there when the head popped out?
Crowning, you see the little head, then it pops out, then the shoulders turn and wiggle out. That's not bad. The afterbirth, that little bag of snot, that shit's disgusting. I got goofy legs. I swear, I didn't know what faint meant until I had kids.
Wait, really?
And when I saw the second act, oh my goodness, I felt. My wife just gave birth. They're putting a cold pack on my head. I was like, this shit's nasty.
And that's when you realize that your mama's dick did the job.
Hey, that bitch worked, man. That bitch worked.
Nah, man, I appreciate you being willing, man, to sit down with us, man.
Thank
It was
you guys
awesome,
so
man.
much for having me. I really
I
appreciate the
it,
time,
man. That was dope, bro.
Appreciate
it.
you.
Yes, sir.
Make sure I'll put my joints on.
Fucking suit.
Make sure. Oh, man.
That was little, dog.
Thank you.
Bro, I know you've
They
been
gonna
years
cut
ago.
that bitch off with scissors.
Andrew, I know you've been somewhere you had to wear a suit, though, dog.
Bro.
Like, somewhere.
You gonna
Yeah,
get
it was so long ago.
it
You've
is.
been somewhere you had to wear a suit.
No, he got a yeast
What'd you wear?
infection.
What'd you wear to the? What'd you
Bro,
wear
I
to
had a
roast?
suit for the Brady one, but it
Hold on, let me
wasn't RC enough. Like I felt the double-breasted. Like,
That's a me suit.
I'm peeping game, dude.
It's a great suit. It's just
For like a smaller guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you grow?
So I'm out here, man. I'm eating carbs.
You are not out here, dog. You are not.
I'm busting out my suit, man.
You are not.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On this vision I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling